Hey, Stephen here with Coping with COVID, 15-minute power podcasts with a powerful message worth sharing. Speaking of sharing, go ahead and share this to your Facebook timeline right now. And if you are somebody who works in the field of healthcare education like myself, own a restaurant, small business, if you're a mindset, personal power coach, please let me know. Please contact me. I'd love to hear from you, get your thoughts, and have you on the show yourself to join me as we figure out how together we're going to stay as present and positive as possible during COVID times. Now today, a little bit different of an update episode. I want to take a look at what's going on here in Illinois. But first, just a reminder that I do not tend to get political on this show. That being said, whether you want to admit it or not, as a whole in this country, as a whole, COVID-19 is still out of control. And we're talking about reopening schools, obviously in education. I have a lot of concerns there with, and we're going to have more guests on in that domain. Here in Illinois, we were the first state to meet CDC guidelines, whereas other states just sort of went about it arbitrarily. Unfortunately, though, as predicted, poor vacation choices, safety protocol fatigue. I've tightened up my personal safety protocol more so than it even was back in April because of the reasons I just mentioned. Ever since after July 7th, we have seen a consistent uptick. There's been a couple down pockets since then, but the majority of days since then, cases have been over 1,000 once again, which is not good as we go full speed ahead. There was a rumor that Governor Pritzker was going to order schools to go remote. That he didn't even make an announcement that day. I don't know where that came from. Rumors are just really non-productive right now. But that's neither here nor there. Point is, it's still, many school districts are now in this week or so going to finalize what they can, of course, with the notation that anything and everything is subject to change. Obviously, a rollback to phase 3 would close in-person schooling again. You're going to see some districts that are doing a phased plan. Those districts I really commend, and I'll talk more about that on a later episode. If we're reopening in phases, why not do the schools in phases? It makes sense. Starting with remote, me personally, I think is the best choice right now. More on that later. Hybrid plans, which in my opinion are not going to offer too much benefit over full in-person. I mean, it's marginal because the problem is this is contagious enough where it's not going to really offer you that much protection. That's my opinion. Looking at Illinois news today for our update segment, Chicago, this is sort of my way of saying this. This isn't an official thing, but it's basically phase 3.5. Mayor of Chicago is starting to roll things back. Indoor alcohol service, bars, taverns, breweries, other places that serve alcohol primarily will not be able to serve customers indoors. As of Friday, this is all July 24th, as of Friday. And you can do outdoors. Maximum party size back to 6. Maximum 10 people allowed. Indoor fitness classes. Personal services that require face masks to be removed, such as shaves and facials, will not be allowed. And residential property managers are being asked to limit guest entry to 5 people per unit to avoid indoor gatherings and parties. Okay? So, like I said, whether or not you personally take this seriously, if you're still somebody that's going to look at this, and I'm just being really bold on this show now. I got to give you the truth. Somebody has to. If you're somebody who's just, oh, it's because of more testing, the further we go into this, the more you restart your life, the more you're going to see people or yourself get sick. And that's just the reality of this. So as far as schools, under a month away now, students are supposed to start. Even, 5 days a week, usually the day is shorter. I think my organization, for liability reasons, I'm never going to provide specific information from my org or any district on this podcast. But speaking generally, they're doing a very good job, and I commend them. I'm very proud to work for the cooperative that I do. What I will say for schools as a whole, as somebody who's very concerned about health, somebody who's been looking at this, statistics daily, studying this. I have to, because I take this podcast very seriously for many reasons. I don't personally believe it's really going to be safe. I think that, unfortunately, we are just looking at how many weeks can we get in, realistically stating, how many weeks can we get in before we're going to have to go remote, either due to multiple people under quarantine, due to, state level, if we do a phase rollback. There's several different ways this can play out. But here is the harsh reality of reopening. We're going against the grain here. Okay, you're not going to get more evidence than you have now looking at the other states. It's against the grain. And the truth is that the sooner that we can all come together to accept reality, that just because we reopen, the reopening, what we're stepping back into is not the world and the reality that we left behind on March 13th or March 17th, whenever it was. It's not the same thing. And remote learning for me was a mixed bag, but the more I look back on it, I think that we should be putting into high gear our efforts to make that better, because that is currently where we're at. We have to adapt. Survival. Hey, viruses mutate and adapt. We have to do the same thing. And I came across a very powerful thought and mindset when I was preparing for a couple of my podcast episodes. And what I figured out was, some people probably don't understand, how does small business, restaurants even, how does that fit into education, right? The educational aspect of this podcast, adaptation and survival. I believe that remote learning, the ability to do remote, especially, as difficult as it was for like special ed, that is forever, I believe, forever going to be a part of education. So he's going to be a tool in the toolbox, ready to go. Restaurants adapting to go, curbside. Brazilian steakhouses, which I featured Brazil Express Grill multiple times. I'm sure I'll have them back on the show. It's another great example, right? To go is just not really a thing. Most Brazilian steakhouses banned to go. It was just never part of the experience. It's a present thing. You enjoy it while you're here. They're probably going to do to go forever now, indefinitely. It's survival, adaptation. So the sooner that, to make a 1999 Matrix reference, the sooner we can take the red pill, because the problem with the blue pill is it's tempting. The blue pill is tempting. I'm going to get my life back. I can believe whatever I want to believe, right? I can believe, hey, we're going to reopen. Things are going to be great. We're going to do the best we can. And people around you will get sick. I mean, knock on wood that but it's just the reality. We can't hide from it. We can't dance around it. We need to accept that things like Google Classroom, things like Zoom, right, are going to be, they're just part of life now. And it's really not that bad. We can find a way together to make it better. And if you want to be a part of that conversation, whether you are a teacher, school, higher ed, whatever, a mindset coach, owner of a small business, owner of a restaurant, somebody who works in healthcare, this is for you. To come on this show with me and have these deep, important, paramount conversations. We'll see you on the next episode. Until then, I'm your host, Steven, and this is Coping with COVID. Take care. End of transmission.